다시 3세션 좌장님 부탁드립니다.
Starting our session, I'd like to say thank you very much to my audience, because this session, the topic of human capital disclosure, is very not popular in my country. So I am very thank you for coming here and having a interesting about human capital disclosure. Before going to the start of the session, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Shin, CEO and founder of Sustainable Growth Institute called SGI. Also, I'm standing on this podium to introduce, to show our speaker as a moderator of A3 session. And now our topic is global new trend, human capital disclosure, and ISO-30414. I'm probably sure that my audience do not know what the human capital disclosure and do not know about what the ISO-30414. To Korean society and Korean companies, human capital disclosure is unfamiliar and unusual things, unfamiliar language. At this point, so I feel the great honor and high responsibility as a first mover, because this is the first time to introduce human capital disclosure to Korean society. I want many Korean companies to know about human capital and human capital disclosure and ISO 30414 from today's presentation. For today's discussion, I have invited three people. They are not just global experts, but also CEO of global certification bodies for ISO 30414, which are required for the human capital disclosure. Let me introduce our panel one by one. First, two people are invited via Zoom, and one person invited via the side me on the podium. First, the person on the left side of the screen. Yeah. Hi, Jahid.
Hi.
Jahid Mubarak, CEO of HR Matrix. And the person on the right side of the screen is the Jeff Higgins. Hi, Jeff. CEO of HCMI. And the person sitting on the chair is Shunsuke Hosaka. Thank you, Hosaka. CEO of HC Pro. First of all, the first presentation will be made by Jahid Mubarak, CEO of HR Matrix.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, this one is for you. What do you think the unique characteristics or differences that the United States has compared to other countries regarding human capital disclosure? Could you give me an answer?
That's a great question. Yes, I think unlike some other countries, the U.S. does not have a history recently of mandating specific metric requirements for companies to disclose. So I think this is considered a little bit controversial for the U.S. However, I still believe the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is going to require it, because they made a prior rule and expected companies on good faith and good behavior to disclose more information, and companies did not do that. So I think, and I don't know that it's really unique to the U.S., but many companies want to be very transparent and disclosive, but they also have their legal and their risk people who tell them don't disclose anything you're not required to disclose because it increases your risk. So I think this is partly out of fear. So, and that's probably something that exists in many countries and for many companies in these countries. But for those who wish to be leaders, and once the rules come out requiring this disclosure, then there will be quite I don't know what the translated word would be, stampede, I think, for companies to suddenly get their data in order for compliance. And they will probably look for something to reduce their risk. And an excellent tool to reduce their risk of reporting and disclosure is to reference and use the ISO-30414, which is now a 5-year-old, well-tested, multiple company certified standard. So if they're reporting and measuring following that standard, they should be as safe as they can be in providing additional disclosures to meet regulatory requirements of the US and other disclosure bodies in Europe, Japan, and the rest of the world.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And the next question is for Jahid. Jahid, can you hear me?
Yeah, very
Yes,
well.
this is for you. No. Yeah. I understand that you were an earlier member when TC260 first formed in 2011. What's the biggest difference in the role and performance of TC260 between then and now?
I think the TC260, once it was created, it was altogether a new experience because the HR was at a ground zero. There was no reference point, no structure, what could be the architecture of the standard. So we spent a couple of years in determining the direction in terms of setting the business plan, looking at the priorities. There's a chairman advisory group within the TC260, which looks at the priorities of the different standards which need to be developed. I have been a chair of the working group which developed HR metric standard. So in that point of time, what I learned was most important was to create a structure of what is a metric, because this was also a basic question, what a metric looks like. So we agreed on some of the key things that include the definition, that include the formula, that include some of the contextual factors and some examples. So we looked at some of the basic stuff, and by now the TC260 at this point of time is fully geared to look externally some of the emerging things like the ESG, the various standard setter organizations, and see how they can align themselves better. So I would say that first couple of years was spent toward more of internal working. Now they are working on the internal as well as external side. And one of the interesting facts that I want to share, within my country, I'm a member of the stock exchange on the ESG reforms. And 2 days ago, the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan was able to issue the ESG guidelines where some of the key metrics on the S have been positioned very well, not only talking about the activities, but some of the key outcomes of the organization, and that's a public document. So that's the key challenge now, to how to align, how you connect with the rest of the world, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you work in more harmony with the other standard-setted organizations and the documents.
Thank you, Jai. And Shinsuke, you have another one. And I like to show my audience question to you. This one is very important things that I think that because you already said that your human recruiting strategy to link into the human capital disclosure, especially ISO-30414. This question is for could you tell me the recruiting strategy by using the ISO-30414 in Japan?
Thank you, Shinsen. It's a great question. As I mentioned, companies are basically targeting investors using human capital reporting or these metrics. But private companies and middle or small size SMEs are also very interested in human capital reporting because they want to attract good talent. And there are a couple of metrics that relates to recruiting in ISO 30414. Of course, some is related to cost or investment, like salary, but also there are metrics like engagement or corporate culture or turnover rate. So if you are a student or if you are trying to get into another company, you would be very interested in looking into those metrics because it shows the corporate culture or how their workers are committed to their company or how many people are leaving the company. So it gives you a good indicator whether that company is somewhere you want to work for. So for companies, by reporting or disclosing those metrics, to attract good talent, you have to improve those metrics. And you have to set a KPI and goal for them, and you can show that you are getting better, not only for the investors, but also for the students or job seekers. That's kind of Japanese companies have started to do, just started, so not doing good yet, but they are trying to do now.
Thank you so much. And our last question is, this one is Korean language. I'd like to ask a question to Jeff. Jeff, could you respond to this question? The question is that human capital reporting, human capital disclosure, the information of human capital is a very, very secret information to the company side. And at this point, why the company, what kind of reason to participate in those kind of secret information disclosing?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, companies like to say that disclosing any detailed information about their employees is potentially disclosing intellectual property and confidential information. And I actually have to laugh a bit about that because the management of these companies may not realize that all of their employees are already on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other social media. So, and companies can buy LinkedIn data. So competitors can recreate your entire organizational structure without too much difficulty. So I think it's actually an obsolete idea to think that your employee data is that confidential. And the employee engagement and the turnover rate, there are these sites in the US called Glassdoor, where employees go in and provide anonymous feedback about what it is like to work at the company. So, and that's just one example. They can also go into Facebook or any other social media site and say anything good or anything bad. So really bad things in today's internet world have a way of getting out into the public space. So I think the concept that companies believe they can keep all this information confidential, and in fact, they're hiring from the same universities as their competitors. They're hiring the same skills, the same jobs. They may give them a different title, but they're hiring all the same things. So what is it that's truly confidential about them? In fact, many companies with very high turnover rates, 20% of their employees might be leaving every year, which means every 5 years, they're turning over almost all of the employee staff. I think investors would like to know that. I think that comment is one that's made out of fear because the companies are afraid of disclosing bad news. However, in financial reporting, companies already have to disclose bad news, so they're used to it. I think they need to overcome the fear of disclosing information that, around people that could be interpreted to be bad or negative, because that doesn't really matter. What matters is the story. How are you, if it's a problem, how are you going to improve it in the future? I believe that's all investors really want to know. What are you doing to improve?
And Shim, sorry to ask, one other thing I want to add over here, that through this disclosure, you're not adding the employee, you're not sharing the employee data. You're talking about the aggregate information because you're not telling someone what the salary of X, Y, and Z. So you're not telling someone who has been hired at what point of time. You're calculating the time to hire. You're looking at the quality of hire. So no personalized information and no breach of any global regulation is involved, even in exporting the data to another country.
Yes, my speakers have a lot of things to wanting to say my audience. However, unfortunately, we have going into the closing time, so I'd like make the just one comment. The human capital, if we cannot avoid the human capital disclosure is not. It's a tremendous wave and trend and global trend. Someday coming to our country, my country, Korea. If we cannot avoid those kind of tremendous, those kind of trend, global wave, global trend, it would be wiser and better to take action positively, actively, to compete the global company, to compete foreign company. So this one is my opinion. And the time is over. I'm very thank you, your audience sitting on here and sitting on there. And behind me, my best speaker, Jahir and Jeff and Shinsuke. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everyone. Thank you.
감사합니다.
이렇게 또 좋은 선례들, 사례들을 참고하는 것이야말로 또 가이드라인이 되지 않을까 하는 생각이 드는데요. 인적자본공시 ISO 30414에 대한 글로벌 국가들의 트렌드 함께 짚어봤습니다.